The question today is how to actually be creative. And it's a tricky question because in order to answer this question, you have to be already creative somehow. I fully agree with Sir Ken Robinson when he said that creativity is something which is buried in ourselves and that it requires certain conditions so that it comes up, and it's a very organic process rather than mechanic, and that the educational system has a tremendous impact on that. So I said to myself, I am in the educational system. I teach this MBA class in front of me, and I need to revolutionize now the thing somehow. I said what I can do to kind of infect with this idea of the creativity of this guy, and say, guys, why don't you bring me, instead of one presentation, like a two presentation with two different answers, so that you bring, make sure that these answers are different, and make sure that you bring the nice arguments behind, and then you present it, and then you're happy, and if you're happy, I'm happy. Belief is that, to come up with one answer for a particular case study, that's a common sense, at least for the students, that's okay. But to come up with a second answer, which is different, and to defend the arguments, it's somehow like you need to be kind of like a creative with that. So I found that the people's reaction on the creativity is pretty much different. Some people, they are so much happy with anything which is creative. Some people like it because it's challenging, it's kind of fun, it's kind of, thinking outside of the box. But there are always somebody who thinks that, oh, you know what, this creativity is not for me, or maybe I am not for the creativity somehow. Somebody straightforwardly told me that, you know what, I don't really sing, I don't really dance, I don't really craft, I don't really engineer anything, and I'm so jealous to the people who can actually do these kind of things. So I was naturally wanted to tell them that no, you can do these kind of things, but I found out that my arguments were kind of like weak, because I didn't really have a certain theory behind, so that I could explain how to actually really be and how to actually do this. So I went back at home, I was thinking around, and I was just Googling around to find this kind of theory, and I couldn't really find much of the theory, but I found some inspirational kind of resources, and probably TED.com is the most inspirational which I found. So I've been injecting back to my students this TED, and some of my students who are sitting here, they know that. So I came to a certain kind of like an understanding that in order to kind of influence, or in order to gain their trust, I had to actually understand this process by myself. So I was rewinding myself right before this aha moment, as they call it. And I said, okay, I'm going to play back it really slowly and try to understand what actually happens, every small bits in it, And I made it really, really, really slowly to understand that. And probably the things which I'm going to tell you now is so much subjective to me, but it really matters for me because it's so much mine, you know what I mean? But I think it really matters if I share these kind of things to you. So for me, the most fundamental understanding was that creativity, as the word was not really a perfect word, because I didn't really create much. It was not like that you are taking some raw materials and you are combining or constructing something. It was more about the accepting a set of the feelings which you actually then decoded, and then you understand that, you know what, I couldn't really invent something like as good as that, because you understand that the small parts of these feelings are really well constructed somehow. So I said, yeah, that sounds kind of like a whatever. I was actually talking and sharing this idea back to my students, and somebody said that, that's not really enough, because now you have to understand and tell us how you come up to this kind of point. I said, yeah, okay. Here is a small secret number 2. Somebody can write that. And I say, the secret number 2 is that you bring yourself to this point. Creativity is not something which you can plan. You cannot really say that on Wednesday night some great creative ideas will come to me, so I have to be prepared for that. And you also cannot really say that that's a purely accidental or random thing, so that I've been walking around in the street and, a nice, great idea was just jumping to my head. But actually, somehow it's a manageable thing to my mind. And I think that here's a theory which I came to. Imagine here's a line, just like a one straight line. And before this line, what you have is the knowable world. So basically, if you walk around here, it means that you are thinking, kind of. But when you are asking the tricky question to yourself, like, how do I do this? Or maybe I can try the other side. Maybe did anybody try this, whatever tricky way? By that, what happens is that you are pushing yourself right on the edge of this knowable thing. And basically what happens is you are throwing this question somewhere in the air, as if you believe that somebody will answer from there. And mysteriously, the answer comes. But the whole trick is that the thinking is there to ask the question, but the thinking only is not really enough to get the answer. It is the feeling which gets. It's like a ping pong, you know, the thinking asks and feeling gets, kind of. So I was happy with this kind of like a second small secret which I found, and I was communicating back with my students and I say, you know what, it sounds good, but we've been there and we've been throwing the questions, and you know what happened, Andrew? Nothing. And I said, damn now, it's because your antennas are wrong, you know, it's because you cannot really amplify the signals which are coming from there. So I've been thinking about the small secret number 3, how to amplify now these things. And I found that what matters to amplify the signals is that if you bring two things, the things which are not really connected to each other, and then you stay still, and then you observe, you take a really closer look, and then you slow down the things, and then you hold them. And the whole problem here is that if you are in the MBA class, then your brain works differently, because the value for you is like more like a efficiency, you know, these time values, these NPVs, these things, and you don't really care about the details because you're the MBA, you know? But I said, that's a different mindset, what you need for this creativity, somehow. And to give you an example, I have to tell you a story. Back in the 90s, I used to be a student, and as a student, I had to go to the army, and nobody wanted to go to the army, especially in the 90s, where the whole war was there, and the Soviet Union was there. So somebody said to my mother that if I could actually play a winged instrument, then my life in the army could be easier, because instead of like a marching around, I could actually trumpeting around. So I tried this flute, and I tried this trumpet, and especially I wanted to achieve, you know, to playing this trumpet. I loved and still love this sound of the trumpet, and I said that, oh, that would be really great if I could achieve the fluency in as much as I sing, because I used to sing from my childhood. And no matter how hard I was blowing into this trumpet, I made the most horrible sound ever made on the planet Earth, probably. But I wasn't really lazy, you know. I've been trying hard, and I've been spending much time and weeks and probably months, and zero result. You know, it's not really a learning curve. It's never bending, steep, linear, whatever, you know. You're standing on one line. And I said, but that's a whole trick there, because you need to somehow get fed up with the ordinary things and ordinary matters, you know. Imagine you're spending this time and you want to achieve this sound, and you feel this sound, you are there, whatever, but, you know, nothing comes out. And then I said to myself, you know, I want to achieve through this trumpet the fluency which I have in the singing. So why don't I do the other way around? So basically, why don't I just like sing the trumpet? So basically what I did was something that probably all of you have ever tried once in your life, something probably in the shower, yeah? The mouth trumpet. So I've been doing something like this. Something like that. Thanks. Thank you. So lately I gave up music, and I went to the IT more. and I said, why cannot I repeat the same thing with the IT? But now instead of like taking this too close thing to, which is like a sound and the voice, I will take the music and the IT. So what can be in between the music and the IT? So I said, there is another musical instrument which drove me crazy, and that's a guitar. And the problem with the guitar for me was the left hand. Why? Because this left hand is a bottleneck, because I had to press these chords and my fingers were bleeding and I was making this ugly face, you know, especially try to, you know, to take these complicated jazzy chords, you know. And I said, still again, this learning curve is never bending. What should I do? But I understand one thing, that the left hand actually does nothing. I mean, it does only the mechanical thing. It just does, the pressing of the buttons, pressing of the chords, the sequence of the chords and the notes. Something which can be replaced by the computer. Well, on the other side, you can see that the right hand makes the music. It makes the emotions, it makes the tempo, it makes the dynamics, it makes all these kind of things. And I said, why don't I shake the computer? So basically, naturally, you come to the idea that you have to develop the iPhone application for that. So that was something that what we did, and I'm going to show now these things. That's on the App Store. It works like this. I mean, well, it's a song list which I have there. So I can actually pick up this song, which means that it's loaded there. And all I have to do is just to shake. And I need to plug this. Hang on a second. Oops. So you understand it follows my tempo. I can dictate. I can, well, actually, thanks. But I can actually do some more complicated things here. Hang on a second. And you can still make the ugly face if you think that that's a professional. Thank you. What I think is not a creativity is that when you have these two aha moments and when you bring it back into this knowable world and all you do is just to combine that, because this combination has nothing to do with the creativity somehow. It's just a combination. So if I do something like this, keep in mind that's not a creativity. Thank you. Thanks. So, to summarize my speech, I want to share you the beliefs which I came to when I was actually observing my process of the creativity. And the few things I need to say that I do believe that creativity is achievable. It is manageable somehow. I do not really believe that we can afford the thinking like, oh, if this creativity is given, it's good, and if it's not given, then we cannot really do. I mean, think about if you're a company, today you probably are pressed to always generate something creative, something innovative constantly. And you cannot really think that, oh, that's an accidental thing, and either I have it, either I don't. The second thing I believe is that I believe that the creativity is somehow in between of thinking and feeling. So I would say that no matter if you perceive yourself as a feeler or as a thinker, it's a perfect place to be and just like keep going. Because to my mind, creativity is somewhere in between of this thinking and feeling and slightly above. And the third thing which I need to say, and I think that the TED is probably the best kind of like a meeting point for this kind of things, that I think that nobody talks about this the feelings and emotions and these subjective kind of attitudes. And I think when it comes to the creativity, it really matters. So we have to somehow be free and do not really hesitate these kind of things. And probably, yeah, once again, probably the TED is the best meeting point to come up and share, because whatever is our subjective thoughts and the feelings can be an inspiration for the others. And finally, I think that the creativity is not really as mysterious as somebody believes. And I think that fundamentally creativity, before it is a professionalism, and which is like an implementation, something which is in a knowable world, right? When you bring down to the whatever, the reality or the physics, before that creativity is about grasping these kind of aha moments. And I believe the fundament of that is the skill of noticing the details, of slowing down the things, which is so much against our ordinary mindset. And probably the most fundamental thing is a skill of listening. And I do thank you for your listening and for having me here. Thanks.